Welcome back. This week, the Correctional Services Portfolio Committee reiterated its opposition to the continued operation of privately run prisons in the country. Once all existing contracts are completed, the committee believes there should be no more private prisons in operation. On Tuesday, the department briefed members of Parliament on its progress in implementing the Public Protector's remedial action following findings of undue delay in the investigation of Thabo Bester's escape. For more on this, I'm joined now by Anthea Ramolobeng, the Chairperson of the Correctional Services Portfolio Committee. Ms. Anthea, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. Talk to us about the rationale behind the committee's position that contracts for privately run prison facilities should not be renewed.
Good evening, Katleho, and good evening to the viewers at home. As you would have indicated, my name is Anthea Ramolobeng. The rationale behind this is on the basis of a bigger chunk would be what would have happened in Mangaung Correctional Facility, but equally how the department is spending as well to both those facilities. We only have two in the country, which are triple Ps. A public-private partnership that the department has entered with, which one is Kutamas in Tumule in Thohoyandou, and the second one would have been Mangaung prison, which is known based on the Thabo Bester escape. So I wouldn't say this portfolio committee, but I was fortunate enough to be part of the 6th administration, which equally belonged to the portfolio committee, then clustered with justice, which the committee would have called the department and spoke on its plans to either renew when the contracts come to the end or not, which we equally did as this new administration in November to get the status of the department, whether it's ready to take over from both this department, because of based on the legacy report, the department would have made an indication that they have no desire to renew the contract, in which both then portfolio committee and this one of the 7th administration, we agree and concur with the department that the contract should not be renewed. Therefore, the department must take over.
In your view, what has been the impact of privatization on the correctional services system in our country?
The impact will be the manipulation of the security system. Both the centers, in terms of the ISS, which is the integrated security system, they're perfectly run, and these are systems that even our own public facilities do not have. So they have the best running security systems. But with what is happening in Mangaung leaves much to be desired with. It means there's a serious manipulation on not necessarily the system, but on people that gets to be escaped. So Bester was not the only incident. You would have had another incident that would have occurred. So they have a tendency that when there is matters that are happening in these facilities, they would try to hide them, not to report them to the department, because when they do report, there are penalties that this private companies must pay to the department. So that also, it's another matter, it's cost that relate to running both these facilities that gets to be given to the companies that are running. So why don't you have those cost implications? You minimize them as the department is facing budget cuts, and you take what is allocated to maintaining both these facilities, you give it to the department to run it, which would be minimum. For example, if we're paying, and this is an example, Katlego, that if we're paying 20 million a month for both the centers to run them and give to these private companies to run both the centers, we can actually run the centers possibly 5 million a month as department would. So it will minimize cost. So that's another matter that I think the department would have looked into, including the portfolio committee when it made an input around this matter.
Do you know when these contracts come to an end, and then what the plan would be with the inmates that are held at those rehabilitation facilities? Where will they be placed, and has the issue of overcrowdedness been addressed with regards to some of the existing government facilities?
Both the centers are indicated. It's two. It's Kutamas in Tumule. Kutamas in Tumule's contract will end in 2027. And The capacity of the correctional facilities, 3,024, which the department is paying in terms of bed space. So if there is an inmate that, let me say, is released, would have reached its minimum detention of release, becomes 3,023, the department must fill that bed because of they are paying per bed. So it's 3,024 Kutama, and then Mangaung's contract ends in 2026, and it's a bed capacity of 2,828. When the department takes over, it will run the facilities. So meaning there is no need to place inmates in other facilities. So the facilities will belong to the department and they will continue operating. So the only issue is that the management changes. It's no longer of private owned facilities, it would be of the department. But when the department appeared before the portfolio committee in November last year, we spoke on issues of officials that are currently managing both the centers, and they would have assured us that there is a process of integrating officials to the department, but there would be cost issues because of the salaries that the private is paying vis-a-vis what the department would pay do not talk to one another, but those are issues or realities that would have made to the officials so that if they agree to still continue to work in the facilities, then they will have to agree with what the department pays.
So, I mean, you mentioned earlier that these facilities have got some of the best run security systems. So in 2026 and 2027, respectively, when government does take over those facilities, would they be taking over that infrastructure as well?
They're taking over the whole infrastructure that the facility comes with. The ISS systems, bakeries system, everything that are in the two centers, they're taking over that. What would have made a plea with the department is that the status quo of bed capacity in both those facilities must remain. These are facilities that are not overcrowded, which means it's 3,024, it operates at 3,024. There is no exception of making an extra room for 300 or 200 to accommodate overcrowding. We then pleaded with them that let the status quo remains even after the department takes over. Let's maintain the same system because of, I would bear my reference to say, in facilities that are not overcrowded, they are well maintained. Infrastructure is running, infrastructure is still intact. There is no broken windows, there's no broken beds and everything. In facilities that are seriously overcrowded, there is issues of dilapidated of infrastructure. So we want the department to still maintain the same structure and not do anything to overcrowding. There are centers that are being built, so we hope equally they will alleviate overcrowding when that takeover process would have chipped in, which is 2026 and 2027. And the portfolio committee is running through issues of legislation to change legislation in trying to speak to issues of foreigners who are incarcerated in our facilities to see if we can enter into bilaterals with their own countries. But this is in consultation with Home Affairs and international relations, including the justice system, to see if we can amend the current legislation to allow us, if for those who are illegal in the country, incarcerated in our facilities, to serve their sentence, the minimum sentences in their countries, which will equally be able to alleviate a little bit of pressure in our facilities. So we hope by the time they take over starts, 2026, which will be Mangaung, the first batch, will be able to see whether it's possible or not before they take over Kutama to maintain the same status. Then all will be well.
Right.
But okay.
So just maybe in closing, I mean, it sounds like a very well thought through and smooth transition that will take place. Any potential challenges that you are foreseeing in the future?
With regards to the triple Ps?
With regards to this transition in terms of maybe other challenges that government would have, yes, even with the triple Ps in terms of not wanting to let go of those contracts?
It's not possible that they will not want to let go. It's in the contract that their contract ends in 2027, respectively 2026. So when they are coming to an end, it's the discretion of the department whether it wants to continue to renew the contract or not. So there will be no issues of court in the process. You would be aware that Mangaung and the department are in court right now because of what would have happened with the Thabo Bester matter, that the department felt that it wants to terminate the contract of Mangaung. those who are running the facilities Mangaung. So the matter is still in court, and we hope the courts will be able to conclude on the matter and we have a way forward. If a way forward with this instance says, let the contract continue up until 2026, it's all in well. But if the court says, no, with what the transgressions that have been happening in Mangaung, let we grant termination, then the department is equally ready to take over as in even tomorrow, because they already are officials at the Mangaung trying to get through the transitional phase, so that as and when the court rules, they are ready for anything that comes to that matter. So we're just hopeful that through what the National Commissioner would have said to the Portfolio Committee, they stick to their word and they make sure that both facilities upon the transitional phase, they are kept as they are and we're able to maintain issues of overcrowding. But however, we have no control of what happens in the crimes of the country. So when a court rules and says Khomoto must be incarcerated in that facility, the department has to adhere to that court order. But through bilaterals between us and the Department of Justice, we'll try to mitigate that.
All right. Anthea, thank you so much for your time and for giving us these insights. That's Anthea Ramolobeng, the chairperson of the Correctional Services Portfolio Committee.